What's up, guys? We're back. Episode 2, jig fishing. Wintertime jig fishing. I'm feeling better today, so we might talk a little bit more. But so yesterday we kind of touched base on finesse jigs, something we throw in the wintertime, springtime, especially in the Ozarks. This is what we do in the wintertime. I got some messages last night about a rod size. So that's another little chapter. I've never fine-tuned it. I have my favorite rods. A 7-foot medium heavy is probably my go-to wintertime jig rod. I don't know why I don't like a longer rod. I think it's just I cast so much with a jig. It's not like I'm flipping something to a target. It's more I'm just sidearm casting it, dragging it down the bank kind of thing. So a 7-foot medium heavy, preferably an extra fast tip. I want a soft tip on there because not all the time in the winter are they going to come up and just chomp on it, There's a lot of times. We just went like last weekend, Buddy and I, and quite a few on a jig, but you never felt a bite, That's where that fast tip, a little bit lighter rod is. And I was throwing, 12-pound line. But you just sit there and you be dragging and you just lose your jig and you reel up a little bit and you just feel tension. You just kind of rear back, and there's a fish. So I think that 7-foot medium heavy extra fast, I'm not preaching a certain rod company. I do use St. Croix. I've used it for a long time. They make an excellent, really sensitive rod. A lot of the other rods I use is Lew's. I've never had a problem with them. They're just a hair stiffer on the jig side of things for me. But when I'm, like yesterday, I was talking about that jack jig. If I'm looking for something like it, since it's got a heavier hook in it, if I'm going down the bank and I see, a log or something, or I want to get behind a dock or some riprap, right? I really have a feeling there's a fish there. I'll bump up to that, heavier hook, which I need a heavier rod. So I might throw 15-pound line, or I might jump up to like a 7.3. That Hibden Hammer from Lew's is an excellent rod, and it's a 7.3 medium heavy, but it's a little bit more backbone, and that's what I like to flip with when I'm flipping a heavier hook. Now, when I go down to my micro jigs, like that little Dirt's jig there, or this is just a little hand pour with an extremely light wire Gamakatsu in it. This is a 1/4 ounce. This is a 1/2 ounce. But a lot of times I'll throw it on spinning gear. I am not the best when it comes to feeling on the bottom with a very light. There's some guys that, boy, you could throw a 1/4 ounce jig out there. Them guys can count every rock on the bottom. I'm not one of them guys. So I opt to sometimes maybe a heavier jig, like a 1/2 ounce or a 3/8. So when I want to throw something extremely light where I'm working it slow, and that's the key, you're going to work a lighter jig a lot slower to you because your mind's so focused on feeling what's on the bottom and making sure you're always in contact. But when I go to a really light one, the rod is a 7-foot medium St. Croix rod. It's just a spinning rod, a Lew's reel, and I'm not plugging them, people. I'm just telling you what I throw. And I'll throw it on. I'll get 20-pound Power Pro. That's the only braid I throw is Power Pro. And again, I'm not plugging them. I'm just telling you what I throw. And then I'll use a 10-pound, fluorocarbon leader. But that's my setup for light jigs. Even on this little Dirk jig, anything with a light wire on it, I really like that spinning rod. It just seems to, I don't know. You can feel so much better with it and everything. But yep, a 7-foot medium braid and a fluorocarbon leader. But keep your braid light, not too light. But don't be throwing 50-pound braid. I like 20. Some companies I think make like 15, 17, something like that. But I stay pretty basic with 20-pound, 10 and 12-pound leader. But that's what I throw on them micros. And again, when you get into your bigger footballs, I'll throw that 7.3 Hibden Hammer or that hammer from Lew's, and it's just a good all around rod for bigger, heavier hook jigs. So I hope that helped out a little bit on the rod situation. Again, I usually keep 100% fluorocarbon on all of my jig rods all the time, unless I'm throwing braid with a fluoro leader on the light stuff. But most time I throw straight fluorocarbon on any drop bait. So, but yes, we'll continue on the next episode. Yep, tomorrow, and we'll talk maybe about some bigger jigs. Or if y'all have any questions, drop them down below, and I'd love to comment back and help you guys.